Greetings, my friends. A quick Bible teaching for you tonight before I sink into Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. So here we are at 1 Corinthians 7. We got the English Standard Version. Principles for marriage. Now, concerning the matters about which you wrote, it is good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman. But because of the temptation to sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife, and each woman her own husband. Now, as a concession, not a command, I say this. I wish that all were as I myself am, but to each has his own gift from God, one of one kind and one of another. To the unmarried and the widows, I say that it is good for them to remain single. Well, wouldn't that mean that they're sexual failures? Well, according to Paul, that's not what that means. Again, to the unmarried and the widows, I say that it is good for them to remain single, as I am. Oh, and didn't he just say, now as a concession, not a command, I say this. I wish that all were as I myself am. And then he says, I say that it is good for them to remain single, as I am. But if they cannot exercise self-control, they should marry. For it is better to marry than to burn with passion. To the married, I give this charge. The wife should not separate from her husband, and the husband should not divorce his wife. So that is the sexual failure refuted. Paul says that if you are not married, then he recommends that you stay unmarried. Now, as far as burning with passion, Southern Israelite is not married. There's absolutely no proof that he is. Everybody knows that he's lying. Now let's take a look over at the golden rule. Here we have Luke 6. Let's start from Luke 6:27. Love your enemies. But I say to you who hear, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who abuse you. To one who strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from one who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Give to everyone who begs from you. And from one who takes away your goods, do not demand them back. And as you wish that others would do to you, do so to them. If you love those who love you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who do good to you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. And if you lend to those from whom you expect to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners, to get back the same amount. But love your enemies, and do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. And your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High. For he is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. Be merciful, even as your Father is merciful. So as we clearly see here, Southern Israelite has failed to follow the golden rule. Let's all pray for him, guys, because, obviously he's terrible to people. Just ask Lanceteer. Just ask a number of people that he's driven away from his platform. He's not a good person. He's disobeying the golden rule of Jesus Christ, that you should treat others as you would like to be treated. And then, his whole thing about being a sexual failure, that's refuted. He's telling people to sleep around with prostitutes. That's fornication. Clearly, as we can see here in 1 Corinthians 7. Yeah, so basically, that's more than enough to show you that Southern Israelite is probably going to burn in hell. He could probably burn in hell just for being a false teacher alone, but, he's a false teacher in a number of senses, and he's failing to love his enemies. He's failing to treat others how he'd like to be treated. Let's go ahead and end off with Mark 12:28 through 34, the Great Commandment. And one of the scribes came up and heard them disputing with one another, and seeing that he answered them well, asked him, which commandment is the most important of all? Jesus answered, the most important is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. Now we know he's going to go into his Old Testament Judaizing and try to say that nobody is his neighbor other than the 4 FBI agents who pay to be in his Discord, or pretend to pay to be in his Discord. You guys, I didn't watch Southern Israelite's latest video. I saw that it's 45 minutes. All of the videos on his channel are about me. And I'm never going to watch any of his videos ever again. I'm basically just going to see how long I can milk this lol cow. Pray for me, boyos. That's wrong. Making fun of people who are grifters, it's wrong. And I'm working on it. But, you know, he spent a lot of time and money harassing me. He's very obviously involved in my harassment. He's a honeypot. He's not a Christian. He's not a Bible-believing individual. As I've shown here, he's teaching you lies about being a sexual failure. Well, Paul just tells you to get married if you burn with passion. Now, people are going to say, but you burn with passion, Stoic. You burn with passion. Well, that's something that you can neither prove nor disprove. Ultimately, I'm feeling quite at peace right now. I'm ready to enjoy The Lord of the Rings. I quite enjoyed the first 2 installments, and I think I'm going to enjoy the final installment. So Southern Israelite is a false teacher. He is wrong about being a sexual failure, as I've proven here. That's not a thing. Paul encourages you to be single like him. He clearly doesn't love his enemies. He's not following the golden rule. And he's not being good to his neighbors. Now, you know, let's just go ahead and get rid of this Mark, because he's going to try to cry about how, you know, nobody's his neighbors. But, yeah, ultimately, he's not following the golden rule of Jesus Christ. He's a false teacher in regards to sexuality and marriage. And, you know, that's Southern Israelite refuted. One more again. If you haven't seen my video that Southern Israelite will teach you nothing about Jesus Christ, go ahead and check that out. Ultimately, he never answered anything I said in that video. And, yeah, I imagine he's going to make another hour-and-a-half video. He's probably going to make 10 more hour-and-a-half videos. He doesn't really have a life, guys. He's a NEET. He sits around all day and cries. And that's it. God bless.